The way that it's written, the way that Kabbalah is written, it's pretty much encoded in a very cryptic language in order to keep it away from the masses. This is one of the ancient protocols of the Kabbalah was to relegate it to a very exclusive group of students. Very exclusive group of students that had gone through years of study. And as you mentioned, this is where I'll mention the age-old restriction of being 40 years old. And it wasn't just the age 40. It was being 40 years of age, as well as being well-versed and learned in all areas of Judaism. In biblical texts, in Talmudic texts, in Midrashic texts, in Jewish legal texts. It's a person that was well-versed, an expert, if you will, in all of these texts, and was 40, was deemed to be appropriate to welcome into the circle of the mystics, of the Kabbalists.
There were rabbis who studied the Kabbalah since Mount Sinai and continued to study it for years and years. It was passed along orally for over 1,000 years, but because of the Roman persecution, it had to be written down. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai wrote it down in this book called the Zohar, and it's very cryptic, it's very encoded, and that encoded message that was written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai of all the dialogues of our rabbis, of the rabbis of the Mishnah. He basically put their dialogue, but the way the dialogue is, it doesn't read like a newspaper. It's very encoded in order that people don't get the details, the dangerous details of creation. Because the Kabbalah can be dangerous for you, it can be dangerous for others. It includes all kinds of stuff that not everybody should know. You have to be ready to know this stuff. You have to be spiritually prepared for it. There's a lot of criteria involved with knowing this kind of info, and therefore, when he wrote down the Zohar, he wrote down the Zohar in a way that would be only understood by scholars. Those scholars studied the Kabbalah for many years. It was always the higher echelons of Torah scholarship, and eventually it made its way down to the Arizal. The Arizal, he meditated for years on the Zohar to try to kind of crack its code. And he succeeded to crack the code and wrote down, his scribe, Rabbi Chaim Vital, wrote down all of his teachings of the uncoded Zohar. So the Zohar was decoded by the Arizal, who's buried in Sfat. That decoding are called the writings of the Ari, which it's funny, the Ari himself didn't write the writings, but his scribe did. They're called the writings of the Ari. It's a very big compendium of uncoded Zohar. It's written in Aramaic. It's very hard to understand. And so the uncoded Zohar, called the writings of the Ari, are actually pretty unintelligible to most people today. Meaning you have to be a massive scholar to understand the writings of the Ari today. So here he thought he was doing, I guess, the world a favor by uncoding the Zohar, but in our generation, the writings of the Ari are just as coded as the Zohar for most people. The dangerous Kabbalah is that they want people not studying until they're ready for it because of various reasons. That dangerous Kabbalistic stuff is no longer accessible today, so we don't have to worry about that anymore. It's not, no one would be able to understand that stuff. I myself, I've been kind of emphasizing in the mystical traditions of Judaism for over 20 years now. Whenever I find my way to a piece of Torah that's the dangerous stuff, I never can make heads or tails. I don't understand what in the world's going on over there. We're just not on that level anymore. We're not on the level of scholarship anymore to be dangerous, for Kabbalah to be dangerous to ourselves or to anyone else by you having studied it. Is that clear? So we don't have to worry so much about that ban.
When we talk about the development of Kabbalah and who are some notable Kabbalists, so we're talking about Adam, we're talking about Abraham, Isaac and Jacob, the other patriarchs, the Jewish patriarchs, are also considered to have been Kabbalists. Moses was a Kabbalist. It says Moses received the Torah from God at Sinai, and it uses the word kabel, received, like Kabbalah. So the tradition goes that not only did he receive the simple elements of Jewish wisdom, but he also received the esoteric wisdom as well, the hidden wisdom about God and about the soul and about the core of everything.
Though Kabbalah flowered in the 13th century in Spain, with the publication of a comprehensive mystical commentary on the Hebrew Bible, a text known as the Zohar, Kabbalah's teachings and understandings of biblical interpretation were never stagnant, but continuously evolving over the generations.
What happened between the ancient times of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses, and the 1500s? So Kabbalah, and I kind of alluded to this before, Kabbalah was always taught, but always taught in a very secretive group. You had to be on the inside to get the wisdom. You had to know somebody that knew somebody to get invited. Hey, meet me in the forest by the tree, and we have a small study group over there. So you had to be the right type of person. You had to have the right amount of wisdom, and you had to be trusted with this wisdom as well. And the way to summon, if you will, a prophetic experience, that is also part of the mystical tradition, the Kabbalistic tradition, and that was taught from Moses to Joshua, from Joshua, Joshua was the next Jewish leader after Moses, from Joshua to the subsequent Jewish leaders, to all of the prophets, and it was a tradition, unbroken chain of tradition that was passed down. In addition to this, Moses, when he was taught the Torah, when he received the Torah at Mount Sinai, so he received not only the written text of the Bible, of the 5 books of Moses, but he received all of the explanations and all of the commentary, if you will, on that as well. All of the explanations were taught to him, and then he was told, write this down. So write these words down, but here's what it means. But what does it mean? It can mean different things on different levels. There are traditionally 4 levels of Torah interpretation, and it's known as the Pardes, which is the orchard. It stands for, it's an acronym in Hebrew. It stands for, and I'll mention 4 Hebrew words, and I'll explain what they mean. Pshat, Remez, Drush, and Sod. So Pshat, Remez, Drush, Sod, the acronym, the first letter of all of those 4 words is Pardes, which means orchard. If you ever encounter the term orchard in a mystical sense, it doesn't mean a bunch of apple trees. What it means is the different layers of interpretation that exist within Jewish wisdom, within Torah wisdom. The first is the simple, basic meaning of the verse. The second is what we would call the allegorical meaning, which means that it says one thing, but it hints to something else. Something else that's kind of a parallel idea, but one idea is kind of leading to another idea. Then you have drush. Drush is the homiletical interpretation. That is where you take an idea that's taught in the Bible and you kind of you learn life lessons from it and you apply it in a way that can further our character, for example. Some character-driven life lessons from biblical text. And then you have the 4th dimension, which is known as Sod, which literally means the secrets. And Sod, that's where the Kabbalah lies, in that 4th dimension of Jewish thought. So it's almost like if you peel layers of an onion, let's say. So you have an outer layer, you peel that back, you have now a more inner layer, you peel that back, an inner layer, and then you get to the core of it. The core of it is the secret, the Sod. That, all 4 levels of Torah knowledge, of Jewish wisdom, that was all transmitted to Moses at Sinai. And Moses then passed it down he was the teacher from mentor to disciple, and then from mentor to disciple throughout the generations, typically taught in smaller groups. The Zohar was written by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. He was this profound mystic in and around the year 135. He didn't author it himself, he taught it, but his students wrote it down, and it was published much later. So that serves as a seminal work of Kabbalistic thought. The Zohar, however, if anybody wants to open up the Zohar, crack it open and read it, extremely cryptic, very difficult to understand. So a student without Kabbalistic training and without knowing how to read it is not really going to get anything tangible. What you'll get is esoterics. What you're going to get is, wow, this sounds really profound. It sounds up there, but I have no idea what it means.
The student of Kabbalah would need a key to unlock the code.
It's not written for everyone to understand. It's written in a language, it's almost like a map that you need a key to decode. It's like any cryptology. It's written in a language that you need, but instead of, the language is decipherable in and of itself. It's written in Hebrew and Aramaic, and you can read it and translate the words, but the meaning of it, you need that key to really understand it. That key doesn't appear until the 1500s, which I'll talk about in a moment. So, the key doesn't appear in written form until about the 1500s, and in the city of Safed of Tzfat in Israel. That's when the mystics of Israel not only are teaching Kabbalah, but they're writing it down for the first time in a way that's decipherable. That as this was taught secretively, in smaller groups, in exclusive settings, throughout the ages, throughout the centuries, it's important to remember that those teachers and those students, they did understand what it was talking about, obviously. They understood it, and they explained it, and they taught it, and it was well understood. The idea was, though, that this is not meant for everybody, and so we're going to leave it in esoteric language. Number one, people shouldn't understand it. Number two, they shouldn't try to understand it. And number three, it can remain kind of the exclusive hold of those that need access to it.
So he told me, that guy, that he's trying to learn Kabbalah. So I told him, oh, that's very nice, but I'll tell you the truth. You should concentrate in the 7 Noah hilos. So what I told that guy was that it's very nice, but he's in the wrong channel. He should put all of his energy in learning about the 7 Noah hilos and spreading them. And this he will bring light to his life, and he would live when he will be deserving miracles in his life, if he will be busy with the 7 Noah hilos.
In this great battle towards the final correction, we have to wake up. We have to remember that we have a special mission. And really, this isn't our place. We're coming from a completely different place. So we have to find our friends according to this awakening. Did you get a phone call? I got a phone call. He got a phone call, and so on. And then we gather as a group. So from this entire planet, we are aliens. We're coming from a different galaxy. We received this ray of light, this awakening, individually, and now we're gathering as groups, starting to prep ourselves to conquer Earth. That's the mission. What? You don't see it?
How do we conquer it?
How do we conquer it? We're also sent the method. We're being shown everything gradually. We're being taught. Not taught, but kind of being trained, activated, and then that emotion and mind awakens in us. But in fact, it's new to us, but in fact it's coming from our original planet. And thanks to that original natural force we have, we will take over. We'll take over those living on Earth. What are you looking at me like that? You don't believe what I'm telling you? I'm telling you seriously. It's even more than that. It's not a different galaxy. It's a different universe. It's a different dimension altogether. That's who we are.